There's an interesting looking box. Haven't seen one of these in front of the TheApostleP camera before. And, you know, it's a little hokey. Extreme Series Hogue. Yeah, it's a knife. And it really kind of took me by surprise. Maybe some of you see this one coming, but I sure didn't. Stick with me. We're going to talk about it. Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 15 March 2015. And yes, we've got a little from the Sharpening Bench video tonight. And the knife we're going to talk about is the Hogue Extreme Series EX-01 3.5 inch drop point blade aluminum matte OD green, model number 34171. Let's see what's in the box, shall we? There's a knife and a nice closed cell foam bag and just a one-page little leaflet, only printed on one side. Information about your knife, customer satisfaction, care and maintenance. And this is manufactured by Hogue Tool and Machine Inc., Paso Robles, California. And we'll get to that. So, you know, kind of minimalist here in what's included. Just kind of a no frills box, no frills packaging. And frankly, guys, this is a knife that has made me yawn as I've looked at it on YouTube and in pictures. It just seems so kind of run-of-the-mill. Aluminum handle, some milled texturing, made by Hogue, you know, famous for their gun grips. New venture into cutlery. Their grips are pretty expensive and pretty sought after, so, you know, I figured, you know, Hogue obviously contracted with somebody to make their knives for them, probably an overseas manufacturer, and, you know, they're not very expensive. They're not cheap, but they're not super expensive either. And I thought, you know, button lock, not really my thing, and never had any interest in buying one. And then my sharpening customer and subscriber Josh sends me a couple knives to sharpen, and this is one of them. It's 154 cm steel, and as I was looking it over as I sharpened it, I thought, 154 cm steel, and then I looked at the handle construction and the locking mechanism. I thought, nope, not overseas produced, and it says made in USA on the box right here in the big old American flag. I thought, aha, this must be a ProTech. And I did a little research, and if my research is correct, not made by ProTech, not made overseas, but made in a newly constructed knife manufacturing facility by Hogue. Interesting, huh? And guys, I have to tell you, my yawns were completely misplaced on this knife. Completely misplaced. Although it looks all very conventional, it's also very, very good. So let's look at what we got. We do have a stonewashed blade crafted of 154 cm steel. It is about 148 thousandths thick, about an inch broad top to bottom, flat ground from about 3/4 of its breadth down. We've got what probably an aircraft grade aluminum handle, probably 6061 or something, in an OD green anodized finish that has a little bronze in it. Can you see that? Just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The blade is 3.5 inches long. The handle's 4.5 inches long. Total overall length is 8 inches. The handle thickness about 530 thousandths, and the weight 4.5 ounces. You know what? It just sounds like it all makes sense, doesn't it? It is a kind of sexy drop point blade. Looks kind of like something Alan Olishewitz might design, doesn't it? I guess that's because Alan Olishewitz designed it for Hogue. And again, by my research, had quite a bit to do with the manufacture of this blade as well. So what would you use this for? It's it does everything. It is a mid to large size EDC utility blade, and at 4.5 ounces, really well balanced. It could serve in that role very well. It's also kind of a mid to small size tactical knife. Great traction plan, great blade shape, handle pretty functional in all grips. Just not much bad to say about this knife, guys. Let's talk about this locking mechanism for a minute, and if we look at it closely, it is a button lock. So when we depress the button, this large diameter boss is moved out of the notch in the blade, allowing it to swing freely. And I hope the camera can pick this up, that blade is notched on an angle. So the farther the button lock mechanism travels to the left side, the smaller the notch gets. So it's designed to be able to wear and still maintain excellent lockup. And guys, there's not a hint of blade play in any direction on this. That tapering notch really works well. I mean, works really well. Let's look at the action. It is a free dropping blade, super fast. And if you study this mechanism a little bit, there's a couple of things that become obvious, and they're really cool. This detail down here is what holds the knife closed. You can see 2 diameters milled into that steel. This large diameter is where that button lock mechanism rests when the knife is closed. The small diameter is where the post of the button lock goes through. If you notice that large diameter where it steps down to the small, actually not where it meets the outer surface of the blade, is nicely radiused. What does that allow the knife to do? It allows it to have detent. So the retention is with that button lock down in the recess. Let me see if I can point with my Swiss Army knife, my Victorinox serrated Spartan. So with the button lying down at in the bottom, as it comes up over this lip, that's what frees the knife. The neat thing about that is there's the knife closed and it has retention. There's more travel left in this button. Watch. When I depress this button farther, it lets the knife go. So we can operate this thing very much like an axis lock Benchmade or a compression lock Spyderco. That's me just, see, there it is with no finger on the button, and I'm going to depress that button just that little fraction farther, and I can flick the blade out like that. It's really quite slick. I've never seen a button lock quite like it. Now, what do you suppose would happen if we just punched that large radius all the way, that large diameter all the way through, put a little coil spring in the pivot? Those 2 modifications are all you need, my friends, to make this an automatic. And I would expect this year, maybe next year, the EX series of knives are going to be offered by Hogue in full auto. And I also understand they have some fixed blade offerings in the hopper. Man, I am not very right-handed, and my right thumb is hurting. It's a hurting ball club. Let's see how Hogue's 154 cm takes an edge. And guys, by the way, while I'm grabbing some paper, if you've got any better information on the manufacture of these knives than I do, please share it with us in the comments. I think it's kind of cool. Listen to that silent assassin widget. Boy, that takes an edge. 154 cm. An awesome and underappreciated knife steel, in my opinion. Just a super cool mechanism. Guys, I had no idea how much I was going to like this knife. The jimping on the handle is fairly sharp and effective, although this odd skipped jimp is a little odd. You kind of could use one there. The jimping out on the blade, more of an index point than it is effectively sharp. It doesn't really hold the finger very much. Now, as we grip this knife, the relief for the button lock also becomes a finger groove. We can move forward. There's not a choil, but we certainly could grip the knife in this forward location. The middle finger then resting in the groove. If we tuck the index finger, we aren't in danger of going out on the cutting edge. It's pretty secure that way. All grips are good. Let's talk about finish quality, machining quality, fit and finish. Look at the swedge. That's always a telltale spot on a knife, whether you've got solid machining processes or not. Pretty symmetrical are those swedges. Let's look at the main blade grind. I would say the same there. Thickness behind the edge. How's that bevel width? Well, it's almost exactly the same. That means the belly and the distal taper match very well. So we've got a blade thickness behind the edge almost perfectly consistent, tip to hilt. That's very good. How do we do with the ricasso? Well, it's a little small. You can see the plunge grind extends at least to where the cutting edge starts, and there's just not enough room in the notch for stone clearance. You can see my stone rides up the edge of the notch just a little bit here. If this were my knife, I would probably enlarge that ricasso just to clean it up a little bit. But not a big deal. It's not very noticeable. The pivot on this knife, as you saw, we got a free dropper with no blade play. It must be on bearings, ball bearings or thrust bearings, something. IKBS, right? It looks like it, doesn't it? No. How about phosphor bronze washers with paper thin Teflon? You guys ever seen that anywhere before? Yep, you sure have. Cold Steel and Ontario. Almost all the triad lock knives use that configuration for Cold Steel, and your Rat series from Ontario, your Utilitax, they all use it. It works great. It needs little or no lubrication. It's super stable, super strong. Just a great pivot system. It might be the best there is. I don't know. You know, it seems to be more forgiving than just phosphor bronze, and it's certainly a lot more wear resistant than ball bearings, but and I think a little more robust than ball bearings. Works great. The clip, my only complaint, what do you think it is on the clip? Yeah, right hand only. You can go tip down or tip up with it. It's kind of goofy looking, a little spoonish, little old style Kershaw maybe with a little hourglass on it, but it works well. Goes into the pocket easy enough with one hand, even though it's sort of a low profile rise on the end of that clip, so it shouldn't get snagged real easily. Easy retention. Just not really much to complain about. Sure would be nice to be able to carry it left-handed though. How hard would it be? I don't think very hard. Of course you'd be on your texture, but I think I'd like to see them mill this texture into both sides of the knife, make the clip ambidextrous. Maybe they'll do that someday. pretty cool little blade, guys. Not that little, it's completely mid-size. I mean, this is the 3.5-inch version. I believe they also make it in a 4-inch version. But this is just the sweet spot for most of us, isn't it? 4.5 ounces, 3.5-inch blade, 4-finger grip. Just a great user. Great user. Can't believe I overlooked this knife as long as I did. Josh, you're getting it back. Goes out tomorrow, probably about the same day this video will air. How that blade centering come out? Oh, by the way, yeah, it's perfect. The knife is just about perfect in every way. Nothing to apologize for with that button lock either, guys. It's pretty doggone strong. Pretty strong indeed. And super slick operating. I say it rivals in ease of use the Benchmade Axis lock. I'm using it wrong-handed there, guys. You see me using it left-handed. It's a right-handed mechanism. The button's designed to be deployed with the thumb. But in the left hand, you use it with the index finger. Works just fine. Just a pretty cool knife. I think I might have to get one. You should too. That's all for tonight, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and this particular Hogue EX-01 are sharp.